So guys, a couple of more things in this chapter 2. So let's do this learning activity all together. A second ago, we actually watched a video about how to calculate the opportunity cost, isn't it? So this one is asking in which country the opportunity cost of cloth is going to be lower. Okay, opportunity cost of clothes. So remember, in order to find the opportunity cost of the item that is on our X line, remember this is X, this is Y from algebra or geometry. Remember, what do we use? We use a formula, delta Y divided by delta X. Okay, and looking at this graph, so we're going to work with France first. Okay, we need to find the opportunity cost of clothes for France. So what is that going to be? So delta Y, we kind of don't have precise points here in between. Okay, so kind of don't know what it is, but we definitely have one point over here and we have another point over here. So what are we going to do? We're going to move from point A all the way to point B. Okay, and that is going to indicate our change in Y and our change in X. So if we're going from point A to point B, what is going to be the change in our Y? So remember, this is the line, isn't it? This is our Y. So we're going from point A to point B. At point B, we're going to produce 0 units of wine. At point A, we were producing 600 units of wine. So therefore, we're going to have delta Y is going to have to be 600 minus 0 divided, okay, by delta X. What is delta X? At point A, how much was our X? X was actually equals to 0, isn't it? And then when we move all the way to point B, how much is our X? Our X, the units of clothes that we're producing right now, is actually 300. So minus 300 is going to be equal. Remember, we have our 600 divided by 300. And remember, it's negative. We're going to ignore that negative sign. So it's going to be equal exactly to 2 units. Okay, so therefore, the opportunity cost to produce 1 unit of cloth is going to be 2 units of wine. What does it mean? In order for us to produce 1 unit of cloth, we need actually to give up 2 units of wine. Guys, just remember, again, look at the graph and try to understand. At point A, we're producing 600 units of wine and 0 units of cloth, isn't it? When we move all the way from A to B, what do? We give up all these units of wine that we're producing, but what do we gain? We gain these units of cloth that we're producing. So you can say that in order to produce 300 units of cloth, we need to give up these 600 units of our units of wine. If you're going to take the ratio of these two numbers, you can say that in order to produce 1 unit of cloth, we have to give up 2 units of wine, and that's the opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost of cloth is actually equal to 2. Really quick, opportunity cost of cloth in England, remember, it's delta Y divided by delta X. We're moving from this point to this point, isn't it? What is going to be our delta Y? Delta Y is going to be exactly equal to 100, isn't it? What is going to be our delta X is going to be equal exactly to 300. And therefore, the opportunity cost of cloth in England is actually going to be 2/3. So the question that we need to answer, in which country the opportunity cost of cloth is lower? And the opportunity cost of cloth is lower actually in England. Okay, guys, looking at this, what are we going kind of to, to make a little conclusion? If you're going to have 2 graphs in the future, and one of the slope is actually relatively steep, do you see, let me do this. Do you see how this slope is relatively steep and this slope is relatively flat? Steep slope is going to have high opportunity cost. Flatter slope is going to have a low opportunity cost. 2/3 is less than 2, isn't it? So therefore, high opportunity cost, steep, steep line, and low opportunity cost is actually going to be flat line. So this is the answer. They're actually saying because the production possibilities frontier is not as steep in France, so in France the opportunity cost is lower, but we also calculated in the previous PowerPoint slide. So on this one, pretty much they're saying that if economy adding extra resources or experiencing improvement in technology, then our production possibilities frontier is going to shift outwards. And remember, for example, if we were first here on our black production possibilities frontier and we had some kind of point, let's suppose over here was point A, we were not able to produce in point A. But when we're experiencing improvement in technology and we actually gain more resources, then all of a sudden point A become possible, isn't it? It's actually when we shift our production possibilities frontier, it's possible, not efficient, but if we put some kind of, let's suppose, point B over here, okay, initially it was not possible because production possibilities frontier was this way. Was this production possibilities frontier, okay, and then when it's shifted outward, all of a sudden point B became possible. So the shape of production possibilities frontier, remember we actually said that production possibilities frontier can actually have a bow shape, and then if we move along this line, if we move from point A, for example, somewhere here to point B, remember opportunity cost is not constant over here. It is going to be the same. It's going to be different at every single point, okay? Opportunity cost is not constant because it's a bow-shaped PPF, okay? So it's going to be different. And guys, remember, I can kind of give you here a hint. So if we're going to take, let me erase off this. Okay, remember how we talk about different incline of the line and opportunity cost? So let's suppose we're going to take this point A, and I'm going to draw a tangent line, okay, that goes through this point A. Do you see that this line is actually relatively flat? Okay, if I'm going to move over here, let's suppose this is some kind of like point C. At point C, the line is actually become steeper. At point, I don't know, some kind of, let's suppose it's B, the line is actually very, very steep. So therefore, what do you think? Opportunity cost in point A, is it going to be relatively small or relatively large? It's going to be relatively small, isn't it? What is going to happen in point C? Remember, the slope became actually steeper, so therefore opportunity cost is going to increase. And here, okay, our slope is very, very steep, therefore opportunity cost is going to be the highest one. So therefore, what do you need to know? Along the bow-shaped line, opportunity cost is changing, it's not constant. But remember, if it was production possibilities frontier with a straight line, then opportunity cost is the same at any point of this line. So we're going to keep going. So bow-shaped, okay, really quick, what is microeconomics? So guys, microeconomics and macroeconomics, sometimes it's really hard to draw a line, what is micro, what is macro, but in general, if we're talking about microeconomics, this is the study of households and firms. Okay, so how do they make decisions, how do they interact? If you know something is going to happen on the market, for example, for ice cream, or on the market for pizza, how is this going to affect our households and firms? And then macroeconomics, this is once again very broad definition. This is economy-wide phenomena. What does it really mean? In macroeconomics, we kind of study what affects economy as a whole. For example, if we're talking about unemployment rate, that's going to be applied to the entire economy. That's going to be macroeconomics. If we're going to talk about economic growth, okay, that's applied to the entire economy, that macroeconomics. If we're going to talk about standards of living, or we're going to talk about money supply, and we're going to talk about productivity, okay, that affects standards of living, that's going to be the topic of macroeconomic. But again, all these two kind of groups, or these two sections of economics, they overlap, and it's hard sometimes to kind of defined what is micro, what is macro. Couple of last definition. Positive statements. Okay, so positive statements are descriptive. So pretty much they are telling you how the world actually, works. Or I can probably say how the world is. Okay, for example, if we're going to say that unemployment is too high, okay, unemployment is high, that's going to be considered by technical definition, it's a positive statement. We don't want unemployment to be high, isn't it? That's bad for the economy, but it's a positive statement because we just describe what happened. In order to make a normative statement, we need kind of to prescribe what to do. We need to advise how to improve the world. A normative statement is going to be, for example, to lower the unemployment, okay, to lower the unemployment, let's suppose government should lower taxes. So this statement is going to be normative statement because it's a kind of recommend you what to do, okay? Or the world should be, the government should raise minimum wage. You see the should, okay, they actually recommend you to do something, so therefore it's going to be normative statement. Guys, remember, positive statements are made by scientists, and normative statements are actually made by policy advisors. Okay, remember at the very beginning of this chapter we said that economists actually play two roles. They work as a scientist and they work as a policy advisors. Okay, so scientists, they describe how the world is. So they describe unemployment is too high. They did the research, they figured out, they made a statement. Okay, policy advisors, they're going to recommend you what to do. Well, in order to lower unemployment, let's actually lower taxes. So that's a normative statement. And I think we have like a couple of examples over here. So prices rise when the government increase quantity of money. What kind of statement? It's going to be positive, isn't it? It's just the description. Okay, they're making a statement. The government should print less money. What kind of statement is that? Should. They recommend you what to do. It's going to be normative statement. A tax cut is needed to stimulate the economy. Okay, they're saying we need to do something. They advise you what to do. So therefore, it's going to be normative statement. And the last one, an increase in the price of burritos will cause an increase in the consumer demand for music download. Have no clue how the price of burritos relate to the demand in music downloads. I guess if the price of burritos are too high, we're not going to buy burritos, we're just going to listen music, and we're going to go hungry, and we're going to, I don't know, hungry and maybe healthy or something like that. Okay, so anyway, this is going to be what kind of positive statement, because they are just pretty much describe you the situation. So I guess, guys, that's it for chapter 2. You all rock, you can crush it, you can learn econ, and I hope you know a little bit more about economics after this chapter.